Hi everyone, and welcome to today's card creation for the Craftie Cafe design team. I'm going to be using some Ranger Textures paste, opaque, and some white Lawn Fawn embossing powder. This beautiful tea time from Avery Elle and coordinating dies. It can be used as a thanks. It's got some beautiful sentiments, some lovely add-ons to the cups to add some details. So this is going to be such a fun set to play with today. And you can see there's so many elements. I use a couple of the floral for today's cards. I'm actually making a card set. I've also got this banner, dotted banners dies, some Avery Elle's. So I bring into view a lot of products, also some Distress Oxide inks, the new Avery Elle watercolor ink, so much fun. And I do bring into view the VersaFine, which I don't end up using, and a clear embossing ink. This one's from Wow. Now I start off having some clean water, a very big flat brush, and the set of blues of the Avery Elle colour wash. For this first one I actually use all three, but I end up just using one colour each background. So all I'm doing is I'm just wetting with clean water first the background, and I'm just doing a colour wash. I'm doing more an ombre, so I go heavier handed on the top and then I go lighter and watercolor it down with some clear water towards the bottom. I do that with all three actually, and I have a lot of fun doing this. Now I actually deepen the ombre by doing 2 layers of the color wash, and I heat set in between, so I dry each watercolor panel thoroughly, and then I add the next layer of ink, so working the same sequence of the inks that I had done. So now I move on and I use the cherry on this one and the fizz on the next one, on the next watercolor panel. So I create 3 cards, I water wash it down, and I go heavy towards the top, clean my brush just a little with some adding extra clean water on there, and then I keep working at it. Now because I'm doing 2 layers, I'm not overly fussed on how it looks too much. Like I really just kind of wanted that whimsical watercolor look as much as I can. These inks actually really blend well with watercolor cardstock and really just are great to layer for colors. So I add my second layer here, and as you can see I heat set it first with my heat gun, and then I continue with my water. So I've got just a chamois kind of cloth that I clean my bench in between, and then here's the fizz. And overall I actually really like the colors and the vibrancy of these Avery Elle watercolor inks. I highly recommend them. They're so much fun to play with. You can go as watercolor look as you want, or really use them for watercoloring, which I'll eventually do in another video, but I just wanted to create just an ombre look. Most of the items I'll be using are from Avery Elle for today with the stamps and dies. And here is my second layer of the yellows. Now this was really easy to do. Having a flat brush, clean water really helps. I've just got a little ceramic bowl there that I've actually added and cleaned in between each color, and that was done. So now this cover plate from Avery Elle, which is a Chevron one, I wanted to use it 3 different ways. So for the pink color, I use the Avery Elle Chevron die here as a stencil. So for the first card I use it as a stencil with some texture paste, and this is the opaque matte, and this was really thick and good. It adds extra layer, spreads really well with a spatula, and I'm just using like a plastic spatula here. It's actually quite a flexible one, so I needed more control. That's why I was using my finger there halfway down the knife part. So I'm not actually overly too phased how even this is. I just wanted to make sure I covered as much as I could, and just to create that texture and layer on the card. And once I was happy with that, and I made sure I got into the crevices as much as I could without pressing too hard, because I didn't want to go underneath the actual cardstock, of the faux stencil, I suppose you could call it. It's another great way to use a lot of your background dyes if you can. Peeling that off softly. Now I do tear my panel just a little bit, which I trim off on the top there with the washi tape, purely because I didn't let that dry for as long as possible. I was making a video and I was just kind of making my way through it. Now for the second card, I actually stick and adhere this panel directly on to the watercolor cardstock. Here I'm going to use it as a stencil again for the third card, and I'm actually using Distress Oxide inks for this one, and ink, sorry. And I'm just using it as a stencil, using my ink blending tool, and I go heavy towards the center and then lighter touch towards the outer part. And I peel this off carefully, and you can see the effect that it gives. And it's just another way of just using your cover other than just for the die itself. It makes a really great stencil, and I adhere this down now to coordinating colors of cardstock, which I then also foam mount to a white top folding card base, which is an A2 size. So this is me just adhering using Tombow Mono liquid adhesive. You can use any liquid adhesive, and just mounting this off to a cardstock, coloured cardstock. And making sure that's all centered. So once I've done that with all the three panels, I adhere them down on the white cardstock, and then I start working on the center part. So I'm really happy with these three and the different textures and faux layers and layers that it gives. There's a lot of ways to do one card in 3 different ways, so I was just showing you and giving you variety for today's card creations. So this stamp set, I thought I was actually going to use VersaFine, and then I realized, you know what, I really want to heat emboss it only, and so I bring in just a clear sticky ink and the Lawn Fawn white embossing powder. Now I stamp 4 of these. I ended up using 3, but I like to, when I heat emboss, I make an extra one all the time, either for another card or just in case I make a boo-boo. I like to have a spare one handy. I don't know, I'm not the best in watercoloring or colouring, and sometimes it takes me a couple of goes, and you know, practice makes perfect. So I stamp the cups, then the saucers, and then some floral elements which you can stamp. Now I know it's hard to see at the moment because it's white, so I tilt my head to the side. You know, you don't get to see it off camera, but I'm pretty much stamping with my neck at a 90-degree angle, trying to figure out not to stamp and to stamp correctly. All right, so once I'm happy with that, I start stamping some more elements. I needed to put the embossing powder on there to kind of give me a little bit of guidance, as I found it a little bit hard to see with all the white on the white. And then once I was happy with that, I heat set it with my heat tool. So there's so many elements to play around with this. It was so much fun, and the variety to do 2-step stamping with this is so much fun. And other than heat embossing, there's so many ways to do it as well. So I use my clean clear Z color markers, and I just place the marker ink on a block, and I pick it up with just an aqua brush or pentel pen, and I color these in. So sticking with the theme colors of the pink, blue and yellows, I wanted to make it each card monochromatic but in the different shades of the blues, and I just color all these little cups and saucers each in. So I just work my way through each one, picking up colors and just painting along. I then work my way into the saucers and coordinate all them together. Once I'm happy with them, I actually get the dies, the coordinating dies, and I washi tape them all down on this. Now I do wait a little bit to make sure it's a little bit dry, as long as possible, and just securing these down. I do have a magnetic platform through my Sizzix Big Shot. However, I do like to, just for peace of mind, to also secure it down with some washi tape. I've got the banner here, and I'm going to use 3 of them. I'm going to use 1 on each one and card, and I stamp with the Distress Oxide inks again. So I'm using the Wild Honey, Peacock Feathers, and the Picked Raspberry. So I've got the Picked Raspberry here into view, and I adhered all those banners down with some foam mount tape. The same with the saucers. I adhered the cups and teas and saucers. I actually adhered the saucer directly down with liquid adhesive, and then I foam mount the cup just so it pops up and gives a little bit more dimension to the card. I really enjoy using a liquid adhesive. At the moment, I have been playing around with some tonic, and then my go-to is this Mono Tombow. I do use like Express It, some glossy accents. It depends on my mood and which is closest to my reach majority of the time. So I kind of just vary depending on the project, and have a lot of fun with my projects. So that's all the 3 cards. It was really simple, but different techniques, and I hope you like today's trios. So have fun with your card making, and I look forward to seeing your comments. Thanks for watching.